Okay, tell me if you've ever seen something like this happen, where you've seen someone who's really fit, looks great, has a great body, trains like a beast, eats really clean, then suddenly they're gone. Heart attack at 40 or just got a stroke at 35. But this person looked really fit. He was maintaining his fitness regime. Then what has really happened? And you might have also noticed some fitness influencers who've also gone through something very similar to this. So the question is that what is going on? Is fitness a scam, or are we just wasting our time trying to be fit? And how are people who are so fit, who have such great bodies, having shorter lives? So in this video, I'm going to break it down into 3 reasons as to why this happens. And if you're someone who really likes being fit, these are the 3 things that you should really avoid so that it doesn't shorten your life and you can enjoy your fitness journey. So let's get straight into it. Here's the thing. When we see someone who really looks fit, we think that they might be really healthy, because when you look at their six packs, you're like, oh my god, this person is super fit. When you look at those ripped arms, you're like super healthy. Or when you see a person just running a 10K marathon, oof, this guy is a health god. Some people might look fabulous on the outside, but inside is where the real problem is. I'm talking about messed up hearts, hormonal imbalance, and even early death. Number one is over exercising and heart damage. They say that too much of something good is also bad. And yeah, that also goes for your exercise. Your heart is a muscle, right? And just like any other muscle, if you push it too hard without giving it good enough recovery, it will get damaged. Even there are studies that show that people who overtrain, especially people who are marathon runners and do the extreme marathons, they often get a scar tissue on their heart. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't run a marathon. It's just that you need to also make sure that you're prioritizing recovery as much as you train. It just cannot be like you're only training, and then there is no recovery. And I want you to imagine your heart like a car. So when you drive a car, you normally will try and drive it at your normal economic levels, or sometimes you would want to speed it a bit. But you will not always drive it at its maximum speed, because imagine every day you drive your car at its maximum speed, at some point your car engine will fail. And the only reason that will happen is because you're putting too much of stress on that car on a daily basis. And the same goes with your heart. In fact, there was a guy who was an ultra marathon runner, and he used to do these everyday marathons like it's a job. One day he goes out for a regular routine jog and he never comes back. And doctors found that his heart was really massive and not in a good way. And when they looked at it, they realized it was damaged so much due to overtraining. So if you're someone who really loves to train and just train all day, just make sure that you're also giving yourself enough time to recover. Now, the next thing is clogged arteries. Now, I think this is something that we all just have seen, where you have this gym bro who enters the gym with a protein shaker, just shaking it around, eats just steak and chicken breast and thinks that, okay, I'm optimizing the perfect plan when it comes to getting that perfect body. And to be honest, he might just get that perfect looking aesthetic body that he wants. But what he is really doing is that he's slow cooking his arteries just like a pressure cooker. And now you might also be wondering why. So your body needs protein to function as a macronutrient. But the thing is that when you eat too much of animal protein, especially red meat, your gut produces something that is called a TMAO, or trimethylamine N oxide. And I know this sounds like a villain from a sci-fi movie. Well, somewhere it is, because TMAO increases the plaque buildup in your arteries, making them really stiff and also blocked. And the thing is that most of us don't really need like around 300 grams of protein a day unless you really want to be the Hulk. Because you need to understand that your body will only use the amount of protein it actually requires. And if you consume excess protein, then well, your kidneys will be working overtime, and somewhere your heart has to pay that price. So just make sure that whatever you are eating, you are consuming for your body, and not because a fitness influencer or someone has suggested that you should eat a certain way. Because you have to understand that their body demands are very different from yours. They might be competing for a competition, but most of us are not really competing for any competition. So understand that your body needs are very different from what fitness influencers are going to be telling you. Number 3 is eating very clean. The clean eating crowd. Now, you've all heard someone or your friend who's told you that, I'm going to start eating clean from today onwards. No junk food, no nothing. And even though eating clean means very different to different people, but what most try to say is that they're going to start eating healthy. And I'm sure you've met someone who has just told you that from today onwards, I'm just going to eat boiled chicken. I'm just going to cut down on all my carbs. I'm going to have a low sodium diet, and fatty foods, well, I'm going to avoid all those fatty foods completely. So what this person might think that is clean eating or it's going to be healthy for them might just be damaging their body, because at this point their body is screaming for help. And if you didn't know this, but eating too clean can actually wreck your body. For example, if you're not getting good enough healthy fats, then your hormones are going to be messed up and you're going to have a lot of hormonal imbalance. If you're going to have foods with low sodium, then that's going to create an electrolyte imbalance and somewhere a heart failure. Which is why some bodybuilders go low on sodium right before their competition, or sometimes they just have a lot of health issues at that point of time, or they feel really weak. It's because you're creating that imbalance just so that you can have a ripped body and show that beautiful physique that you've created, but inside their body is very weak. Moral of the story is balance is the key. You don't need to eat like a caveman or you don't need to eat like a monk. You just need to balance all your macronutrients and your micronutrients out. Eat a lot of nutrient dense foods and all the foods that give you a lot of nourishment and a lot of energy in the end. Because think about it, in the end, no matter what, it's not just about the aesthetics. You want to feel energetic. And with this, there is one more bonus point that I really need to mention, and it is one of the most important points and also a very silent killer, and that is stress. Just because someone really looks fit on the outside doesn't mean that their body is not stressed on the inside. So if you're stressing mentally or generally high levels of stress, or you're pushing yourself too hard constantly all day, lack of sleep, and not really eating properly, your body goes under stress. So your cortisol levels will be skyrocketing. And cortisol is your stress hormone. And when cortisol levels are always on the rise, it can mess with your blood pressure. It can also lead to heart attacks, strokes, and even immune system breakdowns. And also think about it, that what is the use of being fit if your body is always constantly running away from an imaginary tiger? It just doesn't make sense. Which is why most people can look fit on the outside and have all those muscles and a ripped body, but on the inside they are very hollow, or you can say even damaged. But now it comes down to the question that how can you truly be healthy and not just look like it? So if you want to stay healthy while being fit, here are some rules that you really need to follow. Well, it is very simple, but just follow these golden rules. Number one is don't just train hard, but train also very smartly. So you don't need to destroy yourself in the gym. Just make sure that you mix intensity with recovery, because as much as you're being very intense with your workouts, you also need to make sure that you also recover. And your heart and your joints will thank you when you are 80, because at that point of time, you will be able to lift grocery bags without breaking a sweat. The next is that switch the word clean for eating nutrient dense diets. Forget the extreme diets. Get your salt, get your carbs, get your fats, get the amount of protein that you require. And for the love of good food, stop treating carbs as your enemy. Protein is really good, just don't overdo it. Balance it out. Make sure that you also consume a lot of plant based protein sources. Reduce red meat, reduce your processed food, alcohol, and anything that is bad for your body. And make sure that 80% of the time your meals are nutrient dense. And the last is prioritize your sleep and the way you recover. Make sure you get good quality sleep compared to the quantity of sleep. A 6 to 8 hours is also a good amount of sleep. Make sure that you meditate, laugh a lot, and take some rest days when you don't feel like it. Because you have to understand that fitness should add years to your life and it should not take it away from you. What I want you to understand is that looking fit and being healthy are two different things and they're not the same, because some of your most fittest people are actually battling a lot of internal issues which ideally they shouldn't be battling, and some of them who are just surviving on parathas and napping twice a day are living up to 90. See, the goal isn't about just looking good and having the aesthetics, but it's also about feeling good, having the energy levels, and also the longevity that we all want from being fit. Because in the end, we want to be fit so that we can enjoy life. So don't go and chase aesthetics, because your fitness influencers are doing it for a reason, but most of us are not competing or not in that competition level. So go for being really healthy. So don't just chase aesthetics, chase true health. Because I would rather want to be an 80-year-old doing push-ups than to be a 40-year-old lying on a hospital bed. Okay, so now tell me if you've ever fallen for any of these fitness traps. Or do you know someone who's very obsessed about fitness but is ignoring completely when it comes to their health? Do let me know, and if you really like this video, then do check out this video because this might interest you as well. And until we meet again next, don't stress and be awesome. Rocher that.